Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is a companion video. Now, what are companion videos? Well, I'm awfully glad that you asked. See, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we take the second half of the show to take your live questions. However, we often don't have enough time to get through all the live questions that get sent in, but I want to make sure your questions get answered in a timely manner, so we gather up some of those unused questions and we address them here on companion videos. Now, couple of housekeeping items here before we get rolling. You probably notice I'm wearing my Girl with the Dragon Tattoo jacket. I actually found this again after a few years a little while ago. So I've worn it once or twice. So I'm wearing it today because, of course, the great Canadian kid Christopher Plummer passed away the other day. And I was standing there with Christopher Plummer when I was handed this jacket. I was at the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo press day in New York, and it was my first time I've ever had a chance to meet the great Christopher Plummer. And I was standing there talking we did our interview, and then we were standing talking with them, and then they came in, one of the PR reps came in and started handing out the jackets, and I got this jacket in the presence of the great Christopher Plummer. So that's why I wanted to wear it today. Also going to let you know, I've been doing a lot of hours of broadcasting lately, so my throat's been getting a little bit sore. So I need a little bit of help today reading the questions. And I thought, who is the most electrifying man in the online world today?
That's right.
Who is Captain Charisma himself? I decided to go and get, you see his thumbnails every day on the John Campea Show. You see a lot of the graphics he does for the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Ray Ora is here helping with reading the questions.
Goes wild.
Everybody's going crazy today. Ray, seriously, Ray, thank you so much for coming in to do this for me today. It just, it gives me a minute in between every question just to rest my voice. It's great. I love it. All right, guys. So listen, one more thing about a heads up. A lot of questions. I normally don't read any of the questions before we do the show or the companion videos, but I did peruse a bunch of these today, and a lot of them do involve spoiler type questions for WandaVision episode 5. Now, this is television, not a movie. I say my personal rule is you got 24 hours after a television show comes out to get caught up. It's been almost 72 hours now. So we are going to ask open spoiler WandaVision questions here that did get mailed in. So just to give you guys a heads up, some of those are probably going to come. All right, Ray, with all that down, what is our first question today?
All right, our first question, Cam K writes, "Hey, John, wow, what an episode. So who brought in Pietro? Why not her actual brother? Maybe because he's skull and bones and that won't work. Why isn't she rewinding time anymore or making Vision act in the sitcom? Hashtag bring Sparky back."
Hashtag justice for Sparky. Okay, so I don't know. I mean, clearly she didn't. Like, she was just lying to Vision, like massively lying. I don't know what you're talking about, Vision, like lying. But when she said, I don't even remember how this started. And when the doorbell rings and she says, I didn't do that, I actually believe her. So that means there is somebody else involved too. Who that is, who brought them in. By the way, there's a little bit of a theory that this fake Pietro, because I don't believe he's real. I believe he's an imposter, but I believe this imposter Pietro might just be the missing witness protection person Jimmy Woo was looking for. I don't really think that. That's just a thought. So I don't know. Why not have Aaron Taylor Johnson do it? I don't know. Why do this? I have no idea, but that is the billion-dollar question. And maybe we're going to start getting some answers once we get ourselves into episode 6. All right, what's next?
Okay, Glenn Tracy writes, over or under 33%. If Disney owned the Hulk rights, he would not be Professor Hulk in Endgame. I think he does work better as a supporting character, but part me thinks because they don't own the rights, he was slightly relegated in Endgame. Snap aside, I think most. I'm sorry about that. I butchered that.
Don't worry, I do it all.
Totally butchered that.
Okay, so here's the thing. There's still a lot of confusion out there about the rights issues with the Hulk. So look, Marvel does have the production rights for Hulk. They do. The thing they don't have is the distribution rights. Now, there are two separate, there's more than two different types of rights, but there are two primary main types of rights when it comes to movies and properties and stuff like that. There's production rights. That means you have the right to make a movie about something. So Marvel has the production rights to Hulk. They can make a Hulk movie. They can do anything with Hulk that they want. However, there's a second set of rights, which is the distribution rights. Production rights is you get to make something. Distribution rights is they get to decide what happens to that thing you made. Now, that's a little bit of an oversimplification, but it gives you an idea. So, like, for instance, let's say Ray had the production rights to make a movie about, I don't know, this UFC cup. And it's going to be called Cuppy, the Cup of All Cups. That's the name of the movie, Cuppy, Cup of All Cups. Ray has the rights to Cuppy, Cup of All Cups. So he can make that movie whenever he wants, and he can make it however he wants. But I have the distribution rights. That means once he's done making that movie, it's up to me as to what happens to it. Do I put it in theaters? Do I put it on Amazon? Do I put it on a Walmart DVD bargain bin? Do I put it on Disney Plus? I mean, that's now up to me as distributor. Marvel has the rights to Hulk, but they don't want to make any standalone Hulk movie, because once they make standalone Hulk movie, or a movie where Hulk is the main character, Universal then gets to decide what happens to that, and they don't want to play that game. So no, I don't think Universal having the distribution rights affects at all how they used Hulk in either Infinity War or Endgame, because he was still going to be a supporting character either way. So no, that had nothing to do with it. It's all good. All right, what's next?
Okay, this is a kind of a continuation. It's from Glenn Tracy again. It's a lot of fans were dying to see an angry, animalistic Hulk have a rematch with Thanos. I kind of understand the development of going down the Professor Hulk route, but maybe he might have been treated differently if they owned the rights.
And again, no, wouldn't have treated them any differently, because they do own the rights. And as long as they kept him as a supporting character, Universal has no say, so that's all fine. Listen, I'm one of the guys that I wanted Savage Hulk. I wanted animalistic Hulk. That's just kind of who Hulk is. I didn't mind the idea. And listen, I applaud the Russo brothers for trying something really different with Hulk, and because that was really neat. But at some point, I really would have liked to have seen him revert to true Hulk. I was dying to see that, and we didn't get it, unfortunately. All right, what's next?
Okay, Tim Platey, or Plate. For my money's worth, that definitely qualifies as a Luke Skywalker-esque moment. Hard to believe we're only halfway through WandaVision. This is the perfect way to kick off Marvel's next phase. Hashtag in Feige we trust.
In Feige we trust.
In Feige we trust.
I disagree completely. I mean, I respect that you feel that way, Tim, but I'm sorry. Quicksilver being played by Evan Peters is not a Luke Skywalker showing up in Mandalorian level event. The world explodes when that happens, because everybody of every generation knows Luke Skywalker, right? Evan Peters is not a household name. Quicksilver is not a household name. I mean, here's
what if it was Magneto?
What's that?
What if it was Magneto at the door?
Well, that was one of the theories. Like, I still think, I'm telling you, Ray, I still think there's a chance, even though I don't think Kevin Feige wants to use old X-Men characters, I still think there's a chance that either Ian McKellen shows up or Patrick Stewart. That would be a Luke Skywalker showing up in Mandalorian moment. You know what I mean? Yep. But I mean, Quicksilver, and listen, I often use my mom kind of as the litmus test, because my mom's a fan of the comic book movies and all that kind of stuff. My mom doesn't know who Quicksilver is. I think there's probably a good chunk of the audience watching didn't know. A lot of people did, obviously, but I mean, yeah, I just don't count that as that. And by the way, I still don't think that's actually Quicksilver from the Fox X-Men movies. I don't think it is. I think this is another misdirect, just like at the end of episode 4 when Monica wakes up and says, "It's all Wanda." And I said, no, they wouldn't be telling us that in episode 4. That's a misdirect. It's not going to be all Wanda. And sure enough, now we know it's not. I believe that Evan Peters' Quicksilver is an imposter. We're going to find that out later in the season. I don't know that for sure. I mean, obviously it's possible, but I think we're going to find out he's an imposter. And that's what I kind of think. All right. What's next?
All right. Cam K writes, "Hey again, John. Wanda, Agnes, and Hayward are acting so suspicious. Yep. What kind of mystery would it be if they were all the bad guys? Maybe it's not Mephisto, but come on, there's more to this. There's more to this like there was to Avengers."
I mean, listen, Agnes is clearly a major player. Agnes is not just another one of the people who happen to be in Westview. Now, I don't believe she's Agatha Harkness, although that is a possibility. I also don't believe she's the one behind this. The way she looked at Herb when Herb was about to reveal to Vision what was going on, and Agnes looked at him like she was terrified. She was absolutely terrified. When things were going wrong, when she came in to rock the babies and things were going wrong, she was scared. And that's why she turns to Wanda. It's like, should we just take it from the top? Like, so I don't think she is the evil antagonistic power behind all this, but she's clearly more than just an average Westview. How that's going to play out, I don't know. A lot of people wondering about Director Hayward. Some people just because his degrees on his wall were put up on the wall in the shape of a hexagon. That's a bit of a stretch, but he is acting like a dick. They have called him out to be a dick, and we will see where they go. It's going to be interesting if there's like multiple villains involved here. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. We'll find out. All right. What's next?
All right. Gus Ray writes, does the Evan Peters casting open the door to a James McAvoy Professor X appearance?
I don't think so. But I mean, you can't write off anything because like I'm also saying that I think a Patrick Stewart appearance is possible. Look, I'll say this now because I know there are going to be more questions coming up about it. I don't believe that Kevin Feige is going to use Fox's sloppy seconds. I don't believe Kevin Feige is going to go, oh, hey, that failing X-Men franchise? Yeah, let's, instead of starting my own, like I'm doing with Fantastic Four, like I did with Spider-Man, instead of starting my own, I'm just going to go take Fox's failing sloppy seconds and bring in those X-Men. Remember, the last X-Men film, X-Men Dark Phoenix, only made $250 million at the box office. Only $250 million at the box office. It was an abject failure. The one before that was Age of Apocalypse, which took a nosedive in the box office as well, and was honestly really bad. X-Men has been fantastic at times, but I mean, this was a franchise that was now failing. It lost popularity. If Kevin Feige is going to restart Fantastic Four, and if he's going to restart Spider-Man like he didn't just go and bring in Andrew Garfield, he started it over again. I don't believe there's any real reason to believe he's about to bring in Fox's X-Men. I just don't know what kind of sense that would make. I say all that, but I just told you, Ray, that I think there's a possibility Ian McKellen shows up as Magneto or Patrick Stewart shows up as things. Right. So even I don't know how my own head is working on this. You know what I'm saying? So does Evan Peters showing up open the door for that? No, there was a possibility even before Evan Peters showed up. So I don't think it opened the door. I think the door is already there. Kevin Feige can do whatever he wants. But I still don't think that Evan Peters is the actual Quicksilver from the Fox's universe X-Men. I think I think that's a misdirect for the audience. And I think we're going to find out he's an imposter. That's what I think. I could be wrong though. Could be very, very wrong. We'll
I
find
think it's a swerve too.
What's that?
I think it's a swerve too.
Yeah. It just seems a little too soon. Like, why would they reveal that at this point, halfway through the season? Anyway. All right. What's up?
All right. Cam K writes, the show should be called WandaVillain after what she did or technically didn't do to Sparky. That being said, how did that awakening of Norm appear in this episode, yet was written on the board on his dossier in the previous episode?
I think, well, first of all, I was thinking about this the other day, actually this morning. I don't know how Wanda ever comes back from this. I don't know that Wanda can ever be a hero in the Marvel Cinematic Universe again. Think about this. Besides the fact that how much she's in control is debatable, but she is in at least partial control. We know, I mean, that's obvious. She is at least in partial control, maybe the majority of it, maybe only half, whatever. But Wanda is clearly at least to some degree in control of what's going on there. There's some other power as well, but it's also partially her. She comes out, she confronts the government agents. She turns guns on the director of the government agency, Sword. She threatens them. I just don't know. I mean, she broke in and she stole the remains, all the scrap metal laying around of what was Vision's body. I mean, I just don't know how she comes back from this.
Just call it love.
It's called love. It was love.
Makes you do some weird stuff.
It wasn't my fault. It was my heart. I had to follow my heart, man. All right. What's next?
Okay. Toki Victor. I think that's how you say it.
Or Tashi?
Tashi. Holy shit. Dead robot sex is real. Just kidding. Seriously, amazing episode. Probably the best for me. Didn't think Wanda would ever come out until the end. Also, does this mean Quicksilver is recast and alive? It seems that Vision may have to stop Wanda. Thanks.
I've been thinking since episode 3 that this is going to come down to Vision has to be the one He's going to be, I think, the crux that brings this show to its conclusion. I think he's going to be, we're going to find out that he is now going to follow these breadcrumbs because Wanda isn't offering any information. I think ultimately he's going to be the one to track this down. He's probably going to confront Wanda again, only this time they're not just going to float in the air and make evil eyes at each other. I think something bad's going to happen. Now, whether Wanda and Vision actually come to blows, I don't know. We'll see that later, but that is going to have to be a part of it. And again, I don't think this is the real Quicksilver. It could be. It could be. I'm not saying bet the bank that it's not. I'm saying it could be, but I don't personally believe it is. For now, ask me after episode 6. I may have a completely different opinion, but that's where I'm at on that for now. All right, what's next?
Okay, we get one from Cam K again. So this should be called the Cam K Show.
The Cam K Show.
That mailman is awfully something, huh? Thinking he may be the missing person. I knew you think that's irrelevant, but what are your thoughts on the mailman and the missing person after episode 5?
Still absolutely believe the missing person is completely irrelevant. Have you noticed they haven't even mentioned it again? Like even on the previously on WandaVision, they don't even have him mentioning the missing person. Again, I really think the missing witness protection person was nothing more than the plot device to say, this is how the FBI first got involved. There's something with the mailman though, because he just keeps popping up. This random mailman just keeps popping up. And there was something weird about what he said to the kids when he said, don't worry, your mom won't let him go missing for long or something like that. Your mom won't let this. I mean, so the missing witness protection person? No, I don't think that. But there's something. There is something weird about that. Again, like Agnes, I don't think the mailman is just another random person living in Westview. I think there's something more to him. What exactly? I'm not sure yet, but we will find out. Okay, what's next?
Okay, Dennis writes, when things leave Westview, they don't change back to normal, like Monica's clothes. Yet during the drone scene, Wanda is in full endgame armor, seconds after the camera goes dark. I now think there are 2 Wandas.
I don't think that her wardrobe changing, because remember, she's the one who does the changing, right? Wanda's the one who does the matter manipulation. So altering perception of reality. So just because she doesn't change it once she throws Monica back out or once something leaves, doesn't mean she's not in control of it. And doesn't mean she can't change her own as she's walking out if she wishes. Now, I'm not saying that's absolutely the way it is, but I am saying that just because things don't change back when they come out, that doesn't mean there's 2 different Wandas. That just might mean when something comes in, Wanda changes it and she doesn't care about changing it when it goes out. But listen, that scene when Wanda comes out, Ray, when Wanda comes out, and you're like, first of all, the moment you see her walk through that energy field, everybody's, oh shit.
Yep.
Here comes.
This is the real Wanda right
This
here.
is the real Wanda right now.
This is the one that could probably destroy everybody in the MCU, I think.
Yeah, she's the one who nearly took out Thanos by herself.
Yep.
And she comes out and she takes her big dick out of her pants.
She was just playing with them.
And she throws it on the table and she's like, you understand that I'm the big dog here. I've got the biggest dick in the room. I am the big dog. And I think to do that, she didn't want to wear her 1980s mom jeans when she was coming out to pull her proverbial dick out and slap him across the face with it. That she didn't want to be wearing her mom jeans. She wanted them to know she's serious. And on top of that, the accent started to come back.
Oh, yeah.
Which is another sign that means this lady, she means business. She means business. She ain't coming out in mom jeans and happy-go-lucky, foofed up hair and a, oh gosh golly kind of voice. No. She's coming out and says, this is your only warning.
I thought it was a slap to the face that they brought that many people. They just brought a small group. They should have brought more people with them.
They should have brought the entire military, honestly.
Yeah.
There should have been an Avenger or 2 there already, to be honest with you. But I don't think it's 2 separate Wandas. I think it's the one same Wanda who just changed her own clothes coming out, because she was going from I'm at the 80s sitcom mom to I'm about to go slap a bitch across the face. That's what she was doing. So anyway, that's my thought. Okay, what's next?
Okay, Kirk Novak writes, I was joking earlier this week that if the twins keep aging, then eventually they will both have to be played by Paul Bettany in an ugly wig. Well, after this episode, I'm not joking anymore. I'm demanding. Sadly, they're probably done aging for now.
I suspect we'll see them get to teenage years. I don't know that. We haven't seen anything in any previews that they are. I suspect we'll see them. I don't think we're getting to adults, but I'll tell you what, Ray. I want your opinion on this.
Okay.
I don't think the twins are getting out of this show. I think by the time WandaVision season 1 is done, I don't know this. This is no insider information. I think by the time WandaVision season 1 is done, they're gone. I think whether they died or they disappear or whatever. I think they're gone.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be there.
Yeah, and that's going to add to Wanda getting even more
right,
like going nuts by the time this is all said and done. Right. So, I don't think maybe one more growth spurt. I don't think this is the oldest we're going to see him. I think maybe they're going to have one more growth spurt. We'll find out. All right, what's next?
All right, this is a two-parter from Dennis. He writes, the real Wanda we saw come through the field. Oops, did I get that right? Oh, yeah. Is terrifying and very much in control, unlike the image of herself she's displaying on camera in Westview. I think they are showing there is a very real difference between the Scarlet Witch and the Wanda we know. You have two Wandas, the sitcom Wanda that is self-aware as Vision is, and then the real Wanda that is behind the camera and unseen, sending people in one queue, editing what happens, etc. I think this episode is the first time we saw the real Wanda.
No, I disagree. And the reason why I disagree is because we've seen that Wanda inside as well. Like when Wanda turns to Monica and the scene that she throws Monica out, she's just, who are you? You're trespassing. And then she like that was the same Wanda we saw come out in episode 5, right? When Wanda looks at Vision, when Vision says, you can't control me like you do then. And she looks to him that whoosh, like an actor. She's like, can't I? Like, whoo! Now she's talking about who's the big dog to Vision. So I like the theory. I like the theory, Dennis, but again, I think there is only one Wanda and we're seeing her going back and forth. Remember, this is a very, very disturbed person right now. So I still think there's one Wanda, but if it turns out there are two, I will remember that you wrote that in. All right, what's next?
Okay, Kirk Novak writes, what is this? A crossover episode? I accepted Peter Evans. I didn't expect him to be Fonzie.
Oh, yeah. I was a little bit confused, but I also like that. Like, I didn't expect, if you're going to have Evan Peters show up, he's not going to be, why am I here? What's going on? No, he's got to be a character in the show like everybody else is a character in the show. And that kind of half Fonzie, who was the guy next door for, what was the name of that one show about the young teenage girl? And the name of the show was the character's name. Blossom? Was it Blossom? Wasn't there
Joey?
Joey, thank you.
Well, that was her brother, I think.
Was that her brother?
Yeah.
Okay, but there's a little bit of Joey in that, in him there too, right? So, a bit of, I expected him to be in character in the show. Again, I still think he's a fake, but regardless whether he's a fake or whether he's legit, I expected him to be in character in the show, just like everybody else is in character in the show. Okay, what's next?
Okay, Chris writes, hi, John. Just wondering what JBL headphones are you using? I would like to purchase a pair of them.
These JBLs, I'll tell you, I happen to have them sitting right beside me on the stand. I cannot remember the exact model name. These are both wired. I use them wired because wired is always more reliable, but they're also Bluetooth. Like I can unplug the wire and then plug it back in Bluetooth. I can't remember the actual model name. But if you go and look them up on Amazon, let me hang them back up. And by the way, full disclosure, the wonderful folks over at JBL sent me those as a gift. I think they saw my meltdown that one time when everything went wrong their show and I took off my headphones and I destroyed my headphones. JBL's like, looks like you need some new headphones, Campea. And they sent me these great new headphones. They also sent me my favorite little Bluetooth speaker that I've got sitting over there up on my shelves there. And they also sent me this amazing surround sound detachable speaker with giant subwoofer soundbar. The folks at JBL have been very, very kind to me and very nice to me. And I know they have Duraba as well. But yeah, I'm glad you noticed them.
What's up, JBL? It's Ray. Send stuff my way too.
Ray would like to offer.
First appearance, all the sponsors, done deal.
Ray Aura, ladies and gentlemen, Ray Aura. But yeah, I'm glad you noticed them. They are great headphones. I'm very, very happy with them. They don't sponsor. They just sent them to me. They didn't send them to me just saying, hey, we'll send you headphones if you talk about our headphones, because you never hear me talk about the headphones. So I'm glad you brought them up, but they are really great. And
I will talk about the headphones.
Ray will talk about the headphones and anything else that they want to send his way. All right, what's next?
Kurt Novak writes, I know the show wants us to view Monica as being right and Hayward being wrong about Wanda, but I think the truth is in the middle. When Monica defended Wanda by saying, yeah, she's holding thousands hostage, but could have held thousands more, facepalms.
Yeah, that was a weird thing to me that she said. That was a weird thing. It's like, she's holding thousands of people hostage. Yeah, but it could have been a lot more. It's like, that dude just murdered 18 children in the mall. Yeah, but he could have murdered 50. He's not that bad. I mean, that was a weird thing for her to say. I was saying on the show the other day, look, I'm not saying that Hayward isn't shady. And I'm not saying he may not even be one of the more antagonistic evil powers behind the curtain. But all I'm saying is during that scene, when he was laying out why he's skeptical of Wanda, she was radicalized into Hydra. Her first appearance was her attacking the Avengers. She was one of the causes and the problems that had to bring about the Sokovia Accords. She broke into the sword facility, broke the law and Vision's living will, and stole the pieces of his body. Now she's holding thousands of people hostage. It's like, you know what? Time out. He may be shady, and he might even end up being the bad guy, but he's not wrong. What Hayward is saying is everything Hayward said is factually true. It all depends on how you look at it and your interpretation. The words of Obi-Wan Kenobi, what he said was true from a certain point of view. I mean, so yes, there is all that. But all I'm saying is that what Hayward was saying was actually true. What Monica was saying was also true, but it's just that I always thought you did have to look that the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. But I agree with you. Monica's saying, well, it could have been thousands more. I mean, it's like, that doesn't justify taking thousands of people hostage. Anyway, just my thought on it. I'm glad you noticed that too, Kirk. I'm glad you noticed that too. Okay, what's up next?
Okay, Dennis writes, I think Monica has her powers. Wanda seemed genuinely surprised that Monica was not injured or dead by what she did, and the whited out x-ray means they could penetrate her skin. I think she's hiding / not allowed to use her abilities because of the Accords.
No, I disagree, and I'll tell you why I disagree. Number one, Monica would have known, if Monica had powers, then she would have known that scans of her body would turn up certain things, right? They come up blank or whatever. She was genuinely surprised by that. She's like, no, I got no more time for this. I'm gonna move on. Plus, she's right. When somebody else pointed out to me on one of the previous shows that when Monica is thrown through everything, if you look carefully, she's also being surrounded by that red Wanda energy. And some people speculated, I bet that was Wanda protecting her as she was throwing her out. And then we find out from Monica that's exactly what she did. Wanda didn't, to me, sound surprised that Monica was still alive. She sounded surprised she was still there. It's like, you're still here? It's like, I just destroyed you. Like, I just flicked you out and you're still hanging around here? So I don't think it was she was surprised she was alive. I think what we saw was Wanda keeping her from getting killed when she threw her out. Also, hearing Monica confirm that she kept me protected while throwing me out so I wouldn't die. And again, Wanda didn't sound like she was surprised she was alive. She just sounded surprised she was still sticking around. So right. So you might be right. You might be right, but I'm just telling you the way that I saw it, the way it played out. Okay, what's next?
All right. Dennis also writes, after this episode, if someone in that base is not on the phone to Doctor Strange or Captain Marvel, or someone, they all need to be fired. They are not equipped to deal with this. At this point, I think Wanda has graduated to an Avengers level threat.
Oh, no, you're dead right. Listen, once they found out there were 2 Avengers in there, somebody should have been brought in. Whether it's old man Captain America to at least consult, whether it's War Machine to consult, whether it's Doctor Strange or Spider-Man, although Spider-Man's around. Spider-Man's back at this point. Remember, Far From Home hasn't happened yet. WandaVision happens 3 weeks after the events of Endgame. Spider-Man Far From Home happens 8 months after the events of Endgame. So, Spider-Man still out there. Yeah, Nick Fury's still out there somewhere. I mean, you're right, especially after this. Somebody's got to be brought in. I think it's probably going to be Hawkeye. He's the one that has the closest relationship with Wanda, and he's got his own Disney Plus show coming up. So it'd be good connection. But I agree. It seems really weird that they wouldn't bring in an Avenger to address an Avenger level threat. So I agree with you on that. All right, what's next?
All right. In comic books we trust, he writes, "Hey John and Rob, with the reveal at the end of WandaVision episode 5, do you now think Marvel is setting up the crazy but clever idea that all Marvel character movies they have access to now are actually now canon? If so, I think this is insanely smart. They can draw on any existing character outside of the MCU, explain mutants, and just claim it's from other timelines, etc. Personally, I agree. Magneto will come in at the end, but the Fassbender version. Agree?
Nope. I think Kevin Feige's made it. Again, I'm not, by saying I don't agree doesn't mean I'm not acknowledging that that's possible. Those are two different things. I acknowledge that's possible, but I don't agree because, again, Kevin Feige has never wanted to play with other people's toys. Kevin Feige likes to create his own things and do his own things. So, no, I don't see a lot of that happening. But again, it is not outside of the realm of possibility. Like at the beginning of WandaVision, I thought Wanda, by the end of episode 3, I thought Wanda was completely in control of everything. Until the end of episode 4, when Monica wakes up and goes, "It's all Wanda," which sounds like that's confirming what I thought, but it actually convinced me my theory was wrong because they wouldn't be telling us just in episode 4 that it was all Wanda. So it took them confirming my theory for me to reject my own theory, right? And that could happen after with whether or not he's opening it up to like all Marvel stuff is all canon. As of right now, I just don't see that happening. That's completely contradictory to the way Kevin Feige has ever done things. But it's possible, and I may have a totally different point of view after we see episode 6, or maybe it'll be more reinforced. But as of right now, no, I don't believe he's just... because then it just gets... I'll be honest with you, I may tune out of the MCU. If it just gets too ridiculous, if it gets too silly and too convoluted, it's already kind of getting to the point of being really convoluted anyway. But no, I don't think that's what they're doing. But you're right. But listen, it's Kevin Feige. We trust him. We'll see what he's going to do. And let's see what our theories are after episode 6 is done. Because we may have a totally brand new set of theories after that. And I could totally change my mind on everything I think already. All right, what's next?
Master Luna writes, "Hi, John and Ann. Hope you guys are doing good. Congrats on the new house. Over under 20%, we actually do get Deadpool as the big cameo, but he's actually just watching WandaVision eating his chimichanga."
I had a theory that, well, no, I didn't have a theory. I brought up a possibilities. When we did the John Campea Show, I brought up a big list of possibilities of who this Luke Skywalker level cameo could be. One of the people that I listed is Deadpool. The reason I listed Deadpool as one of the possibilities, because I listed about 6 possibilities. The reason I listed Deadpool as one of the possibilities, not that it's likely, but is that we know Ryan Reynolds is already really plugged in. And Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool himself, is a massive fourth wall breaking character, which if you think of that thematically, that fits in very well with what they're doing in WandaVision. Having a fourth wall breaking character who kind of transcends the reality he's in and is, in the comics, he is the one character in the Marvel Universe who is aware he is in a comic, right? That type of awareness and fourth wall breaking would fit in with WandaVision. Nothing else about him would, but that does. So I don't really think we're going to find out Deadpool's there. I just threw that as one of the possibilities, but wouldn't it be hilarious if they cut to something and there's Ryan Reynolds with a chimichanga or a bag of popcorn watching WandaVision? I think that would be really funny, but I don't expect that that's what's going to happen. It'd be awesome if it did, though. All right, what's next?
All right, Dennis writes, "I still think there are 2 Wandas, but in a different way. Sometimes in cases of severe mental trauma breaks, people can develop multiple personalities. Sometimes in these cases, personalities are not aware of one another. By doing it this way, they can say all the damage is done by the protected personality, and the one we see on screen is the happy personality. That way, Wanda can be saved by the end of Doctor Strange, and Disney can still sell toys of Hero Wanda.
That's not a bad theory. Then they're literally being two separate characters. Because again, I laid out why I don't agree that there are two entirely separate characters. That said, the problem with that theory is there was a show with Christian Slater called My Own Worst. I think it was called My Own Worst Enemy. I think that was the name of it, where Christian Slater would go to sleep, and when he would wake up, he was this like badass secret agent character, right? Man of espionage and super ability to engage in hyper great violence. But then when he would go to sleep and wake back up, he was this mild-mannered suburban dad guy. And he becomes aware of the two sides, and he starts leaving notes to himself, like as if they're two different people, right? That would be interesting. The problem is we see Wanda very easily going back and forth, like talking with Vision. Vision's like, no, that's not, I don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah. You can't do this to me. Can't I? And then right back into it. So she's flowing too easily between that. So I don't think that that's two different, but I'll tell you what, Des, I do like that theory more than the two completely different physical manifestations of Wanda, like you were saying before. I like this idea a little bit more, but because of how easily she's flowing, I believe it's one and the same personality, but very, very damaged. But again, I like that theory more than the other one. So it's a good train of thought. All right, what's next?
Okay, Will writes, thought we were getting old man Steve Rogers for a second. Safe to say my heart sank a little when it wasn't Cap.
I'm not gonna lie, when it went back and because the camera moved kind of slowly to go behind Pietro's head, and when we started to see gray hair, my first thought was maybe Ian McKellen, which is the weirdest theory. I don't know why, but yeah, old man Steve Rogers going, "Hi Wanda, do you got any prunes? And let's talk," or something like that. But no, listen, not unexpectedly, it ended up being Evan Peters. We, of course, knew from 6 months ago when the reports first came out that Evan Peters was going to be in it. And then, like some other people, I saw the leaked footage a couple of weeks ago with Evan Peters. So we knew he was coming. But it is crazy how well they made that 80s Quicksilver look. They totally gave him that 80s Quicksilver look, which was pretty nice. All right, what's next?
Okay, Raph the French fan writes, hey, John and Rob, about your statement about intermission. Here in Belgium, there are intermissions in movies, but 99% of these movies are not meant to have intermissions in them.
So what he's talking about is the other day somebody brought up the idea of, do we think they should reintroduce intermissions into, because it used to be a long time ago, movies would have intermissions. I like the idea of intermissions. And I won't go into the full 5-minute diatribe, but here's the quick Coles notes. I like intermissions only for movies that are over a certain length, like maybe 2 hours and 45 minutes or longer. What that does, by putting in a quick intermission, like a 7-minute intermission, it will reduce the number of times people pull out their phones in movies because they know that, in like 15 minutes, I'm going to be able to go out and check my messages, check my phones, all that kind of stuff. It'll reduce the number of times people get up and walk in front of you to go to the bathroom because they know they have a bathroom break coming up. So if somebody knows there is an intermission coming, they can say, okay, I can hold it in for another 5 or 10 minutes, because then, so that way you have less people. You have less people getting up and walking in front of you because like they ran out of a drink or suddenly they're in the mood for some more M&Ms because they know, we've got a break coming up. I'll be able to go then. So you'll have less people pulling out their phones. You'll have less people getting up to use the bathroom. You have less people going for food. Plus it gives you an opportunity to have a bathroom break or get some food or to check your messages or whatever, right? For long movies, it's a good idea. And, Ray, whenever I explain this to people, then people say, but if you have an intermission, it takes you out of the movie. I'm like, get out of here with that. You're telling me when you're watching TV at home, you don't pause the TV to go and use the bathroom. You don't pause the TV to take a call.
I pause the TV to go to sleep.
Yeah, you and your sister, for those of you who don't know, Ray's Ann's brother, you and your sister both, the auras have this unbelievable mutant power to fall asleep like that. It takes me a half hour of laying in bed to eventually fall. I kid you not. He can lay down on a couch. We can say, hey, Ray, what do you think about this? I think so-and-so. Really, what about the other thing? I'm not kidding. That has happened. That has happened.
I can make a 30-minute show into a 4-parter.
Yeah, and he goes, I started watching the episode last month. I'm almost through it. It's like it's half hour because anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah. So that's why I think, intermissions are good ideas if it's for really super long movies. Otherwise, keep them without the intermissions. But yeah, it is the challenge then becomes, where do you put the intermission? Because, the movie's not made for an intermission. So you do have to try to pick a good spot for it. But yeah, anyway. All right, what's next?
Okay, Raphael Ambroise. During the film days, we projectionists could easily add an intermission between two reels. Now that it is all digital, we have to make the cut ourselves. And since we can't navigate frame by frame into the movie, the cut is king of rough sometimes. Plus, the whole point of going to the movies is to be immersed in the film, and the intermission can break that immersion. You don't watch content at the movies the same you watch it on TV, don't you think?
No, I think our brains are sophisticated enough that we know how to take a break from something. I think, if we can do taxes, and if we can drive cars, and if we can do where we're making 1,000 calculations per second when we're driving, I think our brains are okay to pause and then re-immerse. When there's a good football game on, like today we're recording this on Sunday morning. The Super Bowl is later today. We're going to be watching the Super Bowl. And guess what? There's going to be commercials. Does that take me out of the immersion and the excitement of the game? I don't think so. I think our brains are good enough that we know how to, jump back in. I think we're okay. So I just think there's far too many benefits to a good short intermission for super long movies. Not for 2-hour movies, not for 90-minute movies, but for good long movies. I think there's a lot of benefits for doing it that way. All right, what's next?
Okay, Grandmaster Joseph writes, "Hey John, WandaVision is basically an MCU adaptation of the Marvel Comics series House of M. Wanda goes crazy and creates a new reality where mutants are the majority and humans are the minority, and gives birth to twins, and Xavier stops her in the end." I
don't think this is basically an adaptation of that. There certainly are thematic things in there, though, right? Like they're clearly House of M things. However, there are also elements from other X-Men stories and other, MCU and Marvel World stories as well. But that's true. Here's the problem, though. What we as fans sometimes do is when we recognize there are thematic elements being borrowed from a particular comic story, we then think that means we know what's going to happen next. Because in the comics, this is what happens next. But that's not how Kevin Feige has done things. He definitely pulls inspiration from different stories. And you're right. There's absolutely House of M stuff in here too. By the way, not a good ending for the kids. But anyway, there's definitely House of M elements. The problem then becomes people who recognize that go, oh, well, since this is kind of from House of M, now we know what's going to happen. And that is just not the way Kevin Feige rolls. I mean, again, I always bring it up, but look at Civil War. There's definite thematic things that Kevin Feige took from the Civil War comics, but the movie is actually very unlike the comics. And just because something happened in the comics didn't mean it was going to happen in the movie. So that's where we got to kind of make sure we don't get too carried away in recognizing those themes. But yes, there's absolutely House of M stuff in there, no doubt. All right, what's next?
Freddie writes, "I'll wait for the spoiler discussion, but by the powers of Grayskull, holy fucking shit."
Yeah, having that pop up at the end, I think it would have been an even bigger reaction had it been Magneto. I mean, obviously. But to me, my favorite scene of that episode wasn't even Evan Peters showing up. My favorite part of that episode was Wanda coming out and confronting Sword agents. And again, putting her big dick on the table and saying, "I'm the big dog here. And don't you forget it." That was my favorite scene of that show so far. But yeah, a lot of yelling and excitement during the episode, and a lot more to come, I'm sure. All right, what's next?
Okay, Dylan Valenti writes, "I live in Tampa and live like 2 blocks away from Raymond James Stadium. And I gotta say, the energy in this city is electric right now. Some of my friends are going to the game, and I will literally be able to hear it. LOL. Let's go. Tampa Bay Gronkaneers."
Tampa Bay Gronkaneers.
Oh not that name.
I tell you, Rob.
No.
Ray, say it.
No.
Say it, the Tampa Bay
No,
Gronkaneers.
no,
You want
no,
to.
no.
It's sweeping the nation.
No.
I remember the first time I said it,
time
you
I heard
rolled
it,
your
I
eyes
said
at
no.
me. You rolled your eyes at me. But it's catching on, brother.
No, it's not.
It is catching on.
Tampa Bay.
This is the first time in history the first time in NFL history that a team is hosting the Super Bowl. As far as I remember if I remember correctly, it's never happened before. There's never been a literal home team for the Super Bowl, and Tom Brady taking the Buccaneers there. It's the first time it's ever happened. Listen, I'm a big Tom Brady fan. I'm going to be cheering for the dude. I think Kansas City wins this game, and I think they win it pretty.
I'll be going for the Bucs too, unfortunately.
Yeah, going for the Bucs.
I don't like for some reason back-to-back champions in football.
Doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah, so I don't want it to happen.
You know who the last one to do it was?
Who?
Tom.
Oh, really?
Tom was the last guy to do it.
Oh, well.
So I mean, it's but I just think KC is just going to run up too many points.
Yep. It's just KC's like the Hulk to me.
Well,
they're just way too strong. And I want to see them lose.
Their only Achilles heel is their defense, and they have a good defense. But the problem is that this game isn't about Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes. It's about Patrick Mahomes versus the Tampa Bay defense. And the Tampa Bay Bucs have a very good defense, but Mahomes, Kelsey, Hill, they just rip people up. They rip them up at will. And I just don't think Tom Brady against the Kansas City defense is going to be able to keep pace. Right. But we'll see. I'm going to be cheering for Tom nonetheless, though. We'll see how that turns out. All right, what's next?
Ben Jesusa writes, Holy Pietro, I am loving this show. Every episode just gets better. I think this is seriously Olsen's best performance as Wanda, and it's on a TV show and not a movie. I remember not caring much for her from Age of Ultron, but she's now one of my favorite MCU characters.
Where was that? Where's that second part? It's up there quite a bit, isn't it?
Oh, is there a second part to this?
I missed it. Oh, you know what? Oh, I just forgot to scroll down. But there we go. Okay, I get it. Sorry, I missed it there for a second. Yeah, look, Elizabeth Olsen is a remarkable actress. For any of you guys who have only ever watched her in MCU stuff, you've got to go and watch her other stuff. She's won awards for her performances. To me, she is an Academy level kind of actress. She's never won an Academy Award, but she's an Academy level kind of actress. To me, the true strength of WandaVision is really on two performances, Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany. What they have done in this, and Paul Bettany, his performance in episode 5 was amazing. I mean, he's been great this whole time anyway, and the two of them together have this incredible chemistry. I am loving what I'm seeing from both of them so far. So, yeah, I'm really digging it.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, Ben, get on the Scarlet Witch train. No, I've been loving her for even the Age of Ultron. She was really good. So, hopefully, they don't kill her.
She's gonna be in Doctor Strange too.
Oh, okay.
They might kill her then, but she's gonna make it out of this to at least Doctor Strange 2.
Okay.
All right, what's next?
Steele writes, wow, WandaVision just got crazy. Now I'm thinking Magneto can just show up anytime. I was wondering though, do you think if not for the pandemic, it would take another 5 years to get where we are now with streaming and just the abundance of TV shows?
Well, don't forget Disney Plus had rolled out prior to the pandemic. I mean, they had rolled that out and they had announced Ms. Marvel and She-Hulk and Moon Knight, and they had made all those announcements before the pandemic ever hit. So they were already planning for years before the pandemic hit to launch a whole line of stuff to be on Disney Plus as series. So that was in Kevin Feige's holster the whole time. So no, I don't really think that's happened. Now, what has happened, what the pandemic has done, I don't like the word forced, but for lack of a better term, it's forced a lot of us to turn more to these streaming services a lot more sooner than they probably expected. So Disney Plus wasn't expecting to have the number of subscriptions that they have now already, but I think the pandemic kind of aided that a little bit. But as far as their overall programming plan goes, this was stuff that was in the works for a long time, so I don't think it would have made that much of a difference. All right, good question, Steele. What's next?
Okay, Revenge of the Kims writes, hi, John. Appa is Captain Carson Teva?
Yep, in The Mandalorian.
Uma is Captain Teresa Yao, The Expanse. Jung is Lieutenant Paulo Mayer, The Expanse. All fairly serious sci-fi roles. So now I wonder what Janet will turn into. LOL. My guest, Darth Janet. Love you and Ann.
So yeah, these are all Appa, Uma, Jung. These are all characters from one of my favorite shows out there called Kim's Convenience. Now, Appa, which is Korean for dad, Uma is mom. So Appa in the show is, you saw him pop up in Mandalorian. He's the Asian X-Wing fighter pilot that popped up a couple times in Mandalorian. He's great. Jung is actually Simu Liu, who's going to be now our Shang-Chi in the MCU. He's got his own standalone movie coming this year in Shang-Chi, so that's exciting too. The one person I haven't seen anywhere else is the girl who plays Janet, and she is wonderful in the show. But it's nice to see this little Canadian show, a lot like Schitt's Creek, just dominating. It is one of the funniest shows out there. I absolutely love Kim's Convenience. If you haven't started watching it, you should get on that one right away. All right, I'm glad you would like it, Revenge of the Kims, and I'm glad you pointed it out. All right, what's next?
Okay, Not Sam Wilson writes, here is a Skywalker level cameo for WandaVision. At the end of the final episode, just when Wanda is spiraling out of control, Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman appears to tell Wanda she must renounce her wish.
You must renounce your wish, and it'll make even less sense than it did in Wonder Woman 84. But by the way, thanks for bringing up that awful Scar. Man, I just can't get over how disappointed I was in Wonder Woman 84. I was even more disappointed the second time I watched it. That comes from the fact that I love the first Wonder Woman movie. I love the way they navigated it, the way they told the story in the first one. I just thought they set it up great. You're moving into the second one. I don't know. I had high hopes, and it just didn't make much sense. But yep, Sam, Wonder Woman telling her she's got to renounce her wish. It would fit right in with that. It would absolutely fit right in. Well said. All right, what's next?
All right, this one comes from Not Sam Wilson again. He says, seriously, I think the community has lost our collective minds if we think mutants and the X-Men are going to be introed as some minor footnote in a Disney Plus series or post-credit scene in another movie. MCU versions of the X-Men will be major headline news with massive promotion leading into a film with billion-dollar potential. In fight terms, they are the main event, not an early prelim or the movie equivalent of a dark match.
I don't necessarily disagree with you on that. I mean, why would they take, somebody wrote in to me the other day on my social media, Ray, and said, why isn't anybody saying that it could be Hugh Jackman showing up as Wolverine? Well, there's really three big reasons why not. Number one, what connection does Wolverine have to any of this? Right. I mean, how would that make any sense, or why would that fit narratively? And that would just make no sense. Number two, Hugh Jackman has been very clear that he is retired. He's retired from Wolverine. That's done. Number three, though, and this goes to what you were talking about, Sam. You think that if Hugh Jackman had decided to pull the claws out of the closet and suit up again as Wolverine, that he'd be doing it in an episode of a TV show? No. It would be a major thing in a major motion picture. I don't think he'd do it for that. Is the introduction of mutants and the new X-Men that Kevin Feige is going to create, is that really getting introduced in an episode of a show? Maybe. I mean, listen, this is the first Disney Plus MCU show. It's not like we've had 5 of these shows already, of these series out there, so we can sort of recognize what their patterns are. We don't know what their patterns are. So anything could happen. And maybe Kevin Feige is like, you know what? No. I take this dead seriously as any movie I make. And therefore we can do these things in these shows. But even if you did want to do like that, would it really be a footnote? Do you introduce X-Men into universe as a footnote in another show? Maybe he does. I don't know. But that, I'll agree with you, Sam. That is one of the things that makes me feel like it might be a little unlikely. A little unlikely. But hey, let's see what our theories are after episode 6. After episode 6, we may all be totally on board with it. All right. Thanks for writing that in, man. All right. What's next?
Adrenaline Knight writes, okay, my mutant theory. In the 80s, they battle a bad guy for their reality stone, lose, and are forgotten by everyone. Years later, they come back somehow. It takes care of the history of the X-Men and brings them to now.
I don't think so. Now you're introducing entirely new levels of things, and I don't think they're going to totally change the world history of what's gone on. I don't think it's about forgetting mutants or anything like that. Like, again, the big problem is if there were mutants in the world, you couldn't keep them hidden. a teenager manifests their X gene power and half their neighborhood burns down because they've never controlled their power. That's in the news. Some 20-year-old idiot decides to use his invisibility power to start robbing banks. That makes the news. It's so the fact that mutants at all have been around already. Kevin Feige's going to have to come up with something else. What it is, I don't know. Like, I have no good solution myself either. I don't have any good theories, but it's going to have to be a theory that deals with that problem. And I haven't heard any theory that does it yet. And I haven't come up with one either. To be honest, I think none of us have. If anybody's going to be able to come up with something great for it, though, it's going to be Kevin Feige. All right, what's next?
Okay, Andrew Nathan writes, John, I agree with you on the X-Men being brought into the MCU. It's not going to be a clean transition no matter what they do. Personally, I would like to see Wolverine a part of the Thunderbolts and have Thunderbolt Ross be that William Stryker character for the MCU. Maybe they could also build a relationship between Hulk and Wolverine to finally get a fight between them. That would be fun. Marvel should just introduce the X-Men with new actors and say they've been hiding. They've been in hiding. Thanks again.
Again, the in hiding thing doesn't work. You can't hide. You can't hide mutants. Like, one team of mutants, yes, that could hide. The global mutant phenomena, that you can't hide. That can't be hidden. Because again, like, if some kid manifests his X gene and he looks like a frog now, that makes the news. You can't keep that hidden. So I don't see how they do that. As far as, you don't do things in your movie universe just so you can set up a fight between two characters somewhere down the line. Although one of the very first comic books I ever owned was Hulk and X-Men and Wolverine fighting. One of the first ones I ever owned. One of the next ones I ever owned was Hulk and Thing fighting. There was something about Hulk, guys wanted to line up to fight Hulk because he was the toughest guy there is. But I don't think you can just say they were in hiding. That's a radically, in a universe where we're expected to believe the Asgardian god of thunder comes flying down and Tony Stark, just a regular human being, can make magical nanobite armor that can do anything magic can do, and that we have the Scarlet Witch casting hexes and mind controlling everybody. The idea of the whole mutant phenomena being hidden seems way too unbelievable. It seems like radically unbelievable. They'll have to come up with something else. And again, a lot of people say, well, Professor X can make everybody forget. That doesn't work either, because Professor X does what? Okay, a mind wipe the entire planet. Okay, great. 2 seconds later, some mutant decides to attack a police car. Mutants are back in the news. Okay, now I got to mind wipe the whole planet again. Doesn't work. I don't think any theories I've heard so far, including my own stupid ones, I don't think any of us have come up with one that really works. If anybody's going to come up with one that works, Andrew, it's going to be Kevin Feige. But hey, listen, somehow, some way, they come up with a way that a new actor playing Wolverine and Hulk finally get into a fight. Please, not Professor Hulk. Can we please get our real Hulk back, by the way? But fight, I'll be there for it, man. I'll be there with bells on, my friend. All right, what's next?
Okay, Caleb writes, Hi, John. I got into an argument with 2 friends I was hoping you could settle. When did nerd culture, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books, etc. become mainstream? I said Lord of the Rings, but they said Phantom Menace and Iron Man respectively. What say you?
I'll tell you what, Caleb, as Ray was reading the first part of that question, my mind went exactly to what your friend said, Phantom Menace. And I'll tell you why I think that. The reason I personally think that is because when I was a kid growing up, I had no idea there were people as excited about Star Wars as me. I really didn't. Like, because, when I was a little kid, there's no internet. And I grew up, and it's like when I would tell a friend of mine that, oh, my favorite movie is Star Wars, I didn't even know if they would knew what I was talking about. And then, you as you get a little bit older, you become aware of the fan community, sure. But I still kind of thought of us as fringe a little bit. When the news first came out that George Lucas was doing another Star Wars movie, 3 more, and I still remember where I was. I was with my buddy Rodney Brazeau in the computer room in our house, and there was news on it of Liam Neeson is going to be in it. And I remember being excited about that, but it's when that happened, and then you started to see mainstream media covering that, And then I became aware of, it's like, oh my gosh, it's not some little just corners of fandom that love it. This is a worldwide thing. That to me, way before Iron Man, I think it was already quite there by the time the first Iron Man came. To me, the real first signs of it, that it was now mainstream. Pop and geek culture merged and was becoming more mainstream. I think it was that Star Wars movie. So I'm going to have to side with your friend on this one. Caleb. All right, what's next?
All right. Willow writes, Episode 5 of WandaVision is easily the best episode for me thus far. Do you think the first 3 episodes would have worked a bit better, though, if they had interwoven more of the information that was revealed in Episode 4?
Nope. And because what you're saying, Willow, is your question implies that something didn't work with the first 3 episodes. And I'll just tell you, right as of right now, like the first 3 episodes, even though we've had a great Episode 4 and a great Episode 5, like for some people, like my wife Ann, the first 3 episodes are still the 3 best episodes, right? So they worked. They were great. If anything, it might have diluted. Like 2 things would have happened. If they had a bunch of the elements from Episode 4 intermittent with all the stuff going on in the first 3 episodes, it would have done 2 things. One, and neither of them good. Number one, it would have diluted the uniqueness and the total difference and just the total originality of those first 3 episodes. It totally would have diluted it. But the second thing is, it would have completely neutered the power of Episode 4. Episode 4, when we finally see what's happening outside of Westview, the reason it had a lot of its punch was because we had these 3 episodes of this world we were in, something's wrong, and now we step out of it. If they had kind of peppered some of that in with the first 3 episodes, then 4 would have just been another episode. It would, because everything they're doing in there, we kind of already knew, we're kind of already aware of. Whereas instead, they let the first 3 episodes be this completely unique, different, weird, wonky kind of new thing that people like my wife Ann absolutely loved and adored. And then we get hit like a bus with Episode 4. And so I actually personally, Willow, I think that it would have ruined, not completely ruined, but it would have taken away from both Episodes 1 through 3 and from Episode 4. I think the way they did it was kind of the perfect way to do it. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people will agree with you, though, on that, to be honest. But for me, I think the way they decided to do it was absolutely perfect. All right, what's next?
All right, Jesse writes, my brother and I did another double feature. This time, instead of 2 similar tone films, Hell or High Water and Gone Girl.
Love those movies.
We did 2 very different films, Prisoners and Scott Pilgrim versus the World, both of which I really enjoyed. Prisoners was such a roller coaster with great directing and beautiful acting. That scene in the car between Jackman and Gyllenhaal was perfect. And Scott Pilgrim was bonkers acid trip of a movie that I feel only Edgar Wright could do.
Well, not only, I'm sure other directors could have done something like that, but it was Edgar Wright executed to perfection. You're talking about 2 films with 2 of my favorite directors, right? You got Scott Pilgrim versus the World with Edgar Wright. You got Prisoners, directed by Denis Villeneuve, who of course has the upcoming, he did Blade Runner 2049, and now he's got Dune coming out. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant movie. And yes, you're right, Jesse, you guys could not have picked 2 more completely different films. You couldn't have possibly picked 2 more absolutely different, completely diametrically opposed to each other movies, but both bonkers in their own way. One much more heavy and serious, and one in just a crazy, comedic, delightful way. And of course, I've got a soft spot for Scott Pilgrim vs. the World because it's based in Canada. It's based in Toronto is where it happens. So that's good. And I love both of those movies, and that's a good double feature to do, Jesse. I'm glad you guys did that. All right, what's next?
Okay, Jay Mickle writes, Vision says in WandaVision, Episode 5, why are there no other children in Westview? We have missing children posts on Spider-Man 3 set. Are these the same missing children that Wanda takes and uses in Westview for Halloween episode? If so, holy smokes.
Well, see, I brought that up myself, but there's a big problem with that theory. Here's the big problem. WandaVision takes place 3 weeks after Endgame. Spider-Man 3 minimum takes place 9 months after WandaVision. So there's like 8 or 9 months separating the events of WandaVision and Spider-Man 3. There were no big, massive reports of missing children in Spider-Man Far From Home. So I don't know if those two are connected. But here's my dark theory of the day. And I mentioned this the other day. You know how the way Monica sets it up, that Wanda needs like material to create something new? Like she needed Monica's bulletproof vest to turn it into her pants. Here's something. Ray, I don't know if you thought about this.
Probably not.
Wanda makes her children, and then Vision says, why are there no other children? Did Wanda make her kids out of the other kids?
Oh.
I know that's dark. I'm not saying that's what they did. I'm just throwing that out there as a possibility. But yeah, so because of the time, see, I thought the same thing, that those missing children's posts, bulletins in the Spider-Man 3 set pictures were somehow connected to the WandaVision children thing. But then you think about, well, there's like 8 months in between these, so it doesn't make a lot of sense. So I don't know. Maybe they find a way. To connect those dots. Right now, I don't know how they do it. All right. What's next?
Okay, Carlos Sosa writes, hey, John, wouldn't it be cool to see Purge Troopers or Inquisitors or other things we saw in Jedi Fallen Order in the Obi-Wan series? Thoughts?
It could be if they fit the story. The Inquisitors in like Rebels and then that were then used in games like Fallen Order and stuff like that are very, very cool. Like I like them a lot. Here's the problem. If they show up there on Tatooine, that means the Empire is aware that Obi-Wan is there, and they don't know that he's there. So that would be difficult. But I'll say this. It would be cool as long as they're not shoehorned in there or forced in there. No pun intended. But rather we're naturally a part of the narrative flow of the story, then sure. But I don't think you write your story just so you can have Obi-Wan fight an Inquisitor, right? If they fit with the story, great, I'm all for it. If not, leave them out. Don't put them in there just because they're cool characters. That's how you make bad movies and bad shows. So, but if it turns up, I'll be excited to see it. All right, what's next?
Okay, Stubble McShave writes, over or under 15% that Reed Richards, before becoming Mr. Fantastic, is introduced as a scientist in WandaVision.
I'll go way under. Way under. Again, Kevin Feige said, not bringing in Fantastic Four X-Men for 5 years. He said he's got his 5-year plan. He's going to do that first. That doesn't mean he can't change his mind. But we've already had the showrunner and the show creator of WandaVision come out and said there's no connection between WandaVision and Fantastic Four. Maybe she was lying. Maybe. But it should be noted that she did come out and say there's no connection there. So no, I'm going to take under, not 0, but probably like 1%. So no, I will take under 15% that we see Reed Richards in here. Not impossible though. Not impossible, but I say very, very unlikely. All right, what's next?
Okay, John Farag writes, hey, John, congrats to you and Anne on the house.
Thank you.
Just remember that Dottie is the key to this town. Agnes said it.
Yeah, whether or not, I was talking with somebody about that, whether or not that actually has meta meaning, or whether it truly was meant in the term of the social context of, Dottie's the key to everything here. I kind of feel like that was just the natural dialogue of the scene. I don't know that there was anything more relevant about it. I don't think that was hidden code for Dottie is actually the mastermind behind everything. I mean, maybe we all know Dottie's a little sketch, so there's a possibility of something there. But for now, I feel like that particular line was simply just a part of the natural dialogue of the scene. I don't think it had any deeper meaning, but ask me after episode 6 and I could think something very, very different. All right. What is next?
John is my dad writes, the opening card for WandaVision episode 5 only reinforces to all of us how amazing 80s sitcom television was.
Yep.
Oh, how I long for the days where I wish my life was as perfect as the Seavers, Tanners, and the Keatons. What other 80s sitcoms did you love?
I mean, it's weird. It's funny, Rob and I were just talking about this on the show the other day. It's weird to bring it up now in the light of everything that we now know, but I'd be completely lying if I didn't say that The Cosby Show was the show that I watched. I mean, as a kid, I mean, it was The Cosby Show. You also had others like Cheers.
Full House.
Full House, which obviously, Olsen with her sisters was in that.
There's Perfect Strangers. There's what?
Perfect Strangers.
Mr. Belvedere. There was Small Wonder.
Yeah, there were a lot of good ones. Seinfeld.
Alf.
Was Seinfeld 80s or 90s? When did Seinfeld?
I didn't watch Seinfeld, I can tell you. So
hold on a second. What year did Seinfeld start? Okay, Seinfeld started in it was barely 80s. It was 89. So really that was more of a 90s show, but
the show that me and my sisters used to watch. I'm not sure if it was from the 80s, but it was called Out of This World with Evie. She was like an alien. She had like a little box.
I've heard of that. I never did watch it though.
Yeah.
You and all of them, man.
Yep.
The stuff you would watch.
Yep.
All right, what's next?
Okay, Ryan Trabuco writes, Happy Friday, John and Rob and Ray. Just wanted to write in and thank you for everything y'all do to keep us entertained and informed what's going on. Also, today was payday, so here's a tip of appreciation. Loved your documentary and bought it on Amazon.
And dude, Ryan tipped in $100. Dude, Ryan, thank you so much, man. It's always so nice when somebody just wants to write in something just to say something nice like you did. And by the way, thank you so much for checking out my documentary. Don't forget, guys, my documentary about movie trailers is called Movie Trailers: A Love Story. It's available now on Vimeo, but it's also available if you're in the US or the UK on Amazon. Just go to Amazon, search for Movie Trailers: A Love Story. You should be able to find it. So thank you for the kind words, Ryan, and thank you for checking out my documentary, and thank you for supporting our channel on that level. I mean, seriously, that is so amazing and so moving that you would do that. Thank you very, very much from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate it. All right, what's next?
Javisha Leslie. I think that's how you say it.
Javicia Leslie is better than Ruby Rose. Those are the two Batwomen actresses.
Okay. You keep saying that Batwoman has bad ratings. Variety reported when Ruby left the show that Batman was the third most watched show on CW in live +7 ratings at the end of season 1. Several shows do twice better in the 18 through 49 demo in that than first airing.
No, it was horrible ratings. Listen, never think that because it came in second or third or fourth on CW, that means anything. All you got to do is go and read the actual ratings. Nobody was watching this show. And not a lot of people watch CW right now. CW is not, you can be the second or third highest rated thing on CW, but it's not the same as when Arrow was in its heyday. When Arrow and Flash were both kind of when you were in Flash season 2 and 3 and Arrow was right in the midst of still being big and strong and all that kind of stuff, the numbers were way better than they are now. And all you got to do is go and read the Hollywood Reporter and the Variety articles, just how bad the ratings have been, not to mention the debut of season 2. Your season's premieres are supposed to be your big numbers. But the season premiere of Batwoman season 2 was their third lowest rated show they've ever done. And so, yeah, they are struggling. They are very much struggling on this one. Absolutely they are. I mean, maybe they can turn around, but for now, they're struggling. All right, what's next?
All right, Sean Shackelford writes, I am the only fan of Avatar, so James Cameron is only making these sequels for me. And he's taking his damn sweet time.
Yes, he is.
What are the chances of Avatar 2's financial success if it is okay versus if it is great? Thanks.
Listen, you are not the only fan of Avatar. Believe me. I know it's the cool thing in online movie circles to kind of bash on Avatar now. But remember one thing. Those of us in the online movie circles, we represent about 5% of the overall movie-going audience, right? People are going to be excited about Avatar. It's just the way you can deny it all you want, but they are. They're going to be excited. Maybe not the people who it's fashionable to bash on it. And listen, Avatar was not my favorite movie. I'm one of the first guys who said this is basically Dances with Wolves in space. I liked Avatar. I like it very much. I think it's very good, but I didn't think it was mind-blowing like a lot of other people did. But the reality is a lot of people did find it mind-blowing. And when it comes out, there's going to be a lot of excitement for it, for a lot of people. So even if it's only okay, it's going to do well financially. Is it automatically going to be $1 billion film? No, probably not automatically. If it's great, it'll be $1 billion film. I mean, who knows? If it's great, it could be like a $1.5 billion film. It could have been even bigger if it come out 7 years ago. I mean, they're so late on this. They are so late to the game on Avatar. I don't see Avatar personally making $2 billion like the first Avatar did and was the #1 box office movie in the world for like a decade. I don't see that happening again, but it's going to be successful whether it's good or not. The only question will be, how successful will it be? And believe me, man, you are not the only one out there. There's a lot of people looking forward to this thing, more than you think if all you did was spend time in the online movie circles. But yeah, there's excitement out there for it. All right, what's next?
All right, Darth Ravens asked, I really do think Wanda is being manipulated to do all of this by someone else. Seems truthful when telling Vision she doesn't know how it all started and shocked by Pietro. I don't believe she pulled him from Embers subconsciously. Disguised Mephisto? Here's first of all, I don't even believe Mephisto's going to be involved in this, although that's totally possible. But if it was Mephisto, here's the big problem. If Mephisto wanted to disguise himself as Wanda's brother, why not disguise himself as Wanda's brother that she would recognize? Aaron Taylor Johnson. Like, if he wanted to appear to her as her brother, why appear to her as her brother as somebody as a face she wouldn't recognize or wouldn't know? So that's a confusing thing to me. I don't know that she's being manipulated, or let me rephrase that. There's a difference between manipulation and control, right? You can manipulate, kind of trick somebody into doing something without you being in mind control of them. Like, I don't believe anybody's in control of Wanda. Wanda's making her own decisions. By the way, she's making some bad decisions. Wanda's making some bad decisions. But it's based on love.
But it's on love.
It's love. It's a love story to me.
This is a romance. The whole thing's a romance. But listen, when you tell the person you love who says, you can't control me, and you look at them and say, can't I?
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Yeah, there's something a little rough.
Yeah, that's
there.
like a forced love.
That's a forced love, right? Can't do that. Can't do that.
You can't do that.
Not good.
You'll be arrested in some places.
She's making bad decisions on her own, Ray.
Oh, yeah, she is.
She's making bad decisions on her own.
But she's so badass,
But that can't mean there's not somebody behind the scenes coercing her a little bit.
Right.
Maybe giving her bad advice, saying, hey, Wanda, point them guns at them guys. But she's still choosing to do it, right? So I don't know, but I agree with you. I believe she was telling the truth when she said, I can't even remember how this started. And I believe she was telling the truth when the doorbell rang and she said, I didn't do that.
She's out of her mind.
Maybe she's just pure out of her mind.
One psycho lady.
So she's not in this alone, but that doesn't mean I think like she's being controlled. So I don't know. Well, I think we're going to get a lot more revealed to us, Revan. I think we're going to get a lot more revealed to us in episode 6. All right, what's next?
Okay, James Argenta writes, I think Disney Plus should do what DC Universe did and release their shows at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. I think Disney Plus does not want to release their shows at night, so it does not compete with their ABC, FX, or their other networks.
We talked about this the other day about somebody wrote and says, hey, listen, HBO, when they were putting out like the most popular show ever, Game of Thrones, that show came out at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So everybody could all watch it. If you're on the East Coast, it was 9 p.m. Everybody could watch it. And then, go to bed. Now, what Disney Plus is doing is they're launching it at midnight or 3 a.m. on the East Coast. And so people are waking up, and they're waking up to tons of spoilers because a whole bunch of people have already watched it. People like me stay up and watch it for when it drops at midnight. And they're waking up to spoilers, and they can't watch it till later in the day when they come home from work or whatever. And I really believe Disney Plus should be releasing their episodes of Mandalorian, WandaVision, Falcon, Winter Soldier. They should be releasing them at like 5, 6, 7, 8 p.m. at night. It just makes more sense to me. Now, I don't think it's because they don't want it to compete with ABC. If that was true, then they wouldn't let anything good air on ABC at 7 p.m. because it might compete with what ESPN has on or so on and so forth, right? So that they're going to put it out. I personally think somebody threw in this theory, and I hadn't thought of it, and I think maybe this theory might be right. I think that they're releasing these episodes at midnight to avoid their servers crashing. Because we're already hearing reports of the show coming out at midnight and 3 a.m. in some places, and there's still being some issues because that thing drops and everybody goes to watch it. And maybe Disney Plus is like, if we drop this thing when everybody's awake, we're just going to crash our servers. To which I would say, you're Disney, damn it, buy better servers or buy more bandwidth. But whatever, that could be it. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think it's because they don't want it to compete with FX or ABC or ESPN, because if that was the case, then you wouldn't have anything on those other networks at that time. So I don't think that's the issue. All right, what's next?
Okay, Capri Grant writes, I've been thinking, after taking in all of the trailers and clips we've seen of WandaVision, what if the big bad isn't any particular character? What if it's the Mind Stone itself trying to recreate itself using Wanda as a catalyst? Yes, Thanos destroyed the stone's physical form, but their power and existence are still present. We know the stone was alive, so to speak, based on Bruce, Tony's experiments, and Vision's statements. That could explain why Wanda's powers are surging. Wanda could be being used as a cocoon for the Mind Stone, and as it gets closer to being reborn, Wanda's power gets stronger.
All right, I'll tell you what. I have previously stated that I kind of hate the idea of them using anything to do with the Mind Stones as a main story point, because for 11 years and for 20 plus movies, everything was about the Infinity Stones. It's time to move on from the Infinity Stones. It's time to move past one of the Infinity Stones being the main crux of a story of one of the... They just spent over a decade and over 20 films with the entire story of the MCU kind of being based around these Infinity Stones. It's time to move on from that. That being said, Capri, I think that's my favorite theory I've heard so far. I hate that it's, again, it's Infinity Stones again. Ooh, look, everybody, it's Infinity Stones. Aren't you surprised? You mean the same thing you've made every movie about for the last 10 years? But still, that notion that this is because Wanda got her powers from a stone. Vision got his life from the stone. The concept of this is kind of like, Ray, I don't know if you remember Lord of the Rings. Remember, they killed Sauron, but the spirit of the way Gandalf said it, but the spirit of Sauron endured and has lost none of its potency. Right? What if Thanos destroyed the stones, but they are still kind of around? I mean, or maybe, even fighting to try to come back into existence. That would mean that, listen, that would explain a lot. Again, there are probably a few problems with this theory, but I got to tell you, Capri, for right now, I got to say, I think your theory is my favorite that we've heard so far. I got to ponder it more. I got to think about it a little more. But damn, that's a good thought. Even though I hate the idea of making the center of the story another Infinity Stone again. But it's not a bad theory, Capri. Not a bad theory. Let's see what goes on after this. Okay. We just got time for a couple more here. Let's take another one. What's up next?
Okay, Chris A. writes, I heard that Andrew was spotted filming in Atlanta. If he was like what I heard, do you think they would film Andrew and Tom separate so he actually doesn't know? Okay,
so there was a story that came out the other day where Tom Holland, who plays Spider-Man now, he was asked directly if Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are in Spider-Man 3, to which he replied he didn't know. He said, honestly, I don't know. Maybe they are, maybe they are not. I don't know. I think he was lying. I think he does know if they are there or not. But here's the thing. Andrew Garfield was not spotted filming in Atlanta. The actual story that's out there right now is as uncredible as it gets. Here's what the actual story is. And somebody says that they know somebody else who is an Uber Eats delivery driver who says they delivered food and it turned out it was Andrew Garfield they were delivering food to in Atlanta, not on set, not anywhere else. So somebody said that they know somebody who's an Uber Eats driver that says they saw Andrew Garfield in Atlanta somewhere and delivered food. There are so many reasons not to buy into this. Not that it's can't be true. Let's be clear. Of course that could be true, but there are so many reasons not to take this seriously right now because number one, it's somebody who says they know somebody who says they thought they saw somebody. That's not something to rely on, right? And maybe some Uber Eats driver delivered food to somebody they thought looked like Andrew Garfield. And maybe then you got broken telephone. And I know, look, I think Andrew Garfield is in Spider-Man 3. I think he is in it. I don't know that for sure. Nobody's confirmed it. But I think he is in it. I think there's been enough anecdotal evidence mounting up that it leads me to believe, not know. I'm not saying I know he's in it. I'm saying I believe he's in it. I believe Tobey Maguire's in it. But just because I believe he's in it, this report isn't proof. This report doesn't mean anything. Somebody who knows somebody who says they saw somebody, that's not anything to base a real theory on. So
plus, have you seen Andrew Garfield lately? I don't think he eats at all.
Was he skinny these days?
Yeah. Well, the last time I saw him was on an award show. It could have been a while back, but I was like, he's really thin.
Might have been for a role though. Like we saw.
Yeah, it was for a role, but
we saw Christian Bale. But remember, these guys, they can pack it back on pretty quick.
Yeah, but Uber Eats, come on.
I'm just saying. All right, let's do another one. What's next?
Okay, Justin Jorgensen writes, "Hey friends, I sent this into Robservations last night. My snotty film professor got mad at me a couple days ago because Lord of the Rings, Return of the King is my favorite film of all time. Says it's too much of a blockbuster. How unbelievably stupid."
All right, I'll say this, Justin. Look, all film is subjective, right? Just because you love something or I love something doesn't mean other people have to agree. There are people out there who don't like Star Wars. That's fine. There are people who don't like Citizen Kane. That's fine. There are people, I don't like the original Blade Runner. I don't like the original Blade Runner, but that's fine because we're all allowed to have different opinions and different thoughts about movies. There's nothing wrong with that. However, and you can play this for your film professor if you want, saying that it's not legitimate for Lord of the Rings to be your favorite film simply because it's a blockbuster is one of the most butt-fuck stupid things any moron could say. Now, if he watches Lord of the Rings and he just doesn't like them, it doesn't work for him, he doesn't think they're all that good, that's fair. There is nothing wrong with that. That's totally fair. There are a lot of movies other people love that you don't like. There's a lot of movies people love that I don't like. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But for him to say that my criteria for determining that this movie isn't worthy of being someone's favorite movie is because it's a blockbuster. If people liked it, that means it's not really. That's essentially what this idiot professor of yours is saying. If people like it, that means it can't be good. Just because a movie makes money doesn't mean that it's good, by the way. But just because it makes money doesn't mean it's not good. So yes, that is a completely ignorant, stupid, idiotic thing for your film professor to say. And on that note, guys, we're going to wrap it up here because I'm going to go get ready to watch the Super Bowl here. Super Bowl day is here. We're going to watch it up a little bit, of course. And I think I just heard Ann getting home with my lunch. So there's a little bit of a food recognition in there too. Guys, thanks for being here. Hey, listen, there are more questions in there waiting to come we got a lot actually, like from Capri and Alistane and Loki and many, many, many others. But do not worry. We're going to keep going on with your questions once we get into the John Campea Show tomorrow on Monday. So guys, thank you so much for being here and spending part of your day here with me. Special thanks to Ray over there.
Woo!
Ray, thank you so much for doing this for me today.
Yeah,
everybody loves Ray. Ray is now everybody's favorite. That's a great hat, by the way. I've always been jealous of that hat. And thank you to you guys for sending in the questions for two reasons. Number one, you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the John Campea YouTube channel, thank you so much for that support. Okay, guys, that will do it for me from now. Remember, do the 4 main things. Stay smart, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and please take care of the people around you. That'll do it for now. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.